welcome to this lecture. So in the previous lecture we completed our tools.py which have bunch of functions to control our object, and similarly to get the state of an object, and similarly load all these JFX for our project. So let's go back to this level1.py, and in this level1.py we want to create this init. First we want to create this class level, so that should be class level, and just put here tools. So we haven't imported that tools first, so for that I'll say from and dot is to reference basically to this data here, and from that you have to import me tools. Now I'll say here tools dot, and you have state. So inside this tools.py you have something that is, you can see here we have this class which is an state class. So the next thing what you can do is just come back to this level1.py and start with this init function. So that will be like define initializer, which will be having this parameter self, and just initialize that tools and just call that state class here. So that should be here underscore state, and just give dot and just call that init from here and just pass the self. So this initialization of the level, we just call this initializer of this state function or state class. So the next thing what you can do is we'll just call another method, and that would be startup. So startup would obviously get this self and current time and the persistence. Now next thing, so what you can do here, so let me just say and make it a persist, and now this is called when an state object, when the state object is created. So it will be called when an state object is created. So let's go here and just define it. So first will be self.gameinfo, and let's create that gameinfo and just put it as persist. And the next thing we'll just put this self.persist here as in gameinfo again. So that would be gameinfo, that would be self.gameinfo. That is basically we are just assigning that is the persistence to this current game object by this gameinfo again. And the next thing we can just reference this gameinfo from the current time, level state, and about this our player from the player. So before that, just make sure we have something here. The make just first just try this gameinfo, and I'll say c dot, you should have here something that is current time. So let's see current time. So this should be equal to current time now. So just assign it, and next thing what you can do here is we'll say self dot and gameinfo again. So that just take a reference from here as a level state, and this level state should be now as in c dot not frozen here, not frozen, and this is basically a constant. So if you wonder what this value is about and what this level state current time is about, so you can go to this constant.py and just take a reference here. So first was current time, so you can just go down here and check that current time, and that must be somewhere here. And this was not frozen, so not frozen was basically an string just denoting the not frozen. And similarly we have this state, and you can also check for this current time as in current time here. So let's get back to this level1.py, and the next thing what you can do is we'll just reference again, that is from this gameinfo, and just get the key here as in Mario dead, and just assign it as false. so our Mario is not dead. So next thing, we'll just say self.state now. So current state should be c.notFrozen. And next thing is we'll just set the death timer for our player, and initially it should be the timer equal to 0. So after that, next thing what you can do is we will now set basically some of the module that would be, let me say flag score, just for the reference I'll say flag score, and that would be none here. So we now have to just deal with our Mario and some of the collider objects. So for that, let me just leave this level1.py at this point and just go to this data which contains this state and all of our Python file. Just go there and create a new directory, name is component, and let me say it should be component. And inside this component, first let me just create a new Python file, name is collider.py. So inside this collider.py, let me just import some of the important module, that would be pygame, import is pg, and from dot means we are referencing to do this data. So from this directory, data directory, import me constant age c, and after that what you're gonna do is we'll just create the class that will be the collider class, and just give the sprite, that is the sprite class here, or sprite module, and just give a colon. So this is basically to indicate that invisible sprites placed over top of the background part that can be collided with the maybe pipe or step or ground. So this is basically for the collision. So for that I'll first define this initializer, and inside this initializer we'll just pass parameters as x, y, that is the current position of our player, width, height, and height. And basically this x and y can be any of the collider, that can be pipes, that can be ground, so that this position can be of anything, and height and width basically. And after that they give the name as in collider here, and just put here a collider. So after that what you're gonna do next is we'll just initialize here as a pg and sprite, and just call that init function of this sprite here. So that should be sprite, and just let me call this init, and let me just pass here current object. Now this basically is calling from this method initializer, so basically it will just call the initializers of this class. So after that, next thing what you're gonna do is we'll just create this self image variable. So this self image variable will be assigned as in surface of our screen, so that should be from pg.surface, and just get that surface and put a width first, and similarly the height of an object, and after that just convert it, that is from this convert method. So next thing what you can do after this will be, we'll just image, that should be fill. So I'll say fill image with red color here, so red color, or you can also denote by anything. So firstly let me say that is self.rect, that is this create the rect out of this image, so that would be self.image.getRect function. So this would be get rect function, and after that we just want to create this self.rectx age rect.x, so the position is rect.x should be x, assigned as x, and similarly self.rect.y should be assigned as y, and the state should be none, and this assign is a none. So this will be our collider class, and now we have to create our game checkpoint. So let's go to this component again and create our checkpoint. checkpoint module and just click OK. And firstly, as always, just import some of the module, and the important module will be of course the pygam as in pg, and also from dot dot means we are referencing to this data directory, and import constant in order to work as say. So that should be as say. And after that, let me just create a class in order to use this checkpoint. So what this checkpoint is really about, so let me first complete with my statement. That will be pg.sprite.sprite. This is basically inheritance here. So this will be the parent class, and our checkpoint will be the child class. So checkpoint can use the methods of this class now. So this is basically an invisible sprite, and it can be used to add enemies, special boxes maybe, and trigger sliding down the flagpole. So all the event can be in this checkpoint, and this will be the basically invisible sprite. So let me say, just create me the initializer, and also you have to give x name if it is collider or anything, and y equal 0, and similarly width, that the width should be, let me say 10, and height should be 600. So this is the checkpoint. So now first thing what we're gonna do is we'll call this super here, and in this super we'll just pass the checkpoint. This is our current class, and the self, and dot init now. So after that, the next thing what you're gonna do is we'll just create the image, and that will be out of this surface, and that is from this method, surface method, and just give a tuple. Here is a width and the height that we passed while calling this checkpoint. And similarly, let me just fill this image that we just extracted as in from fill, and just say me that c blot black. So this should be black. So this c is basically constant, so we're just referencing to this constant.py, and we're just taking out this black constant from there. So after that, next thing what we're gonna do is we'll just do something that is creating the rectangle around that image, and that would be like from this, that is self.image, and just get a rectangle first. And after that, we'll just assign this rect first, as in the rect x coordinate is in this x, and similarly the rectangle y position as in y again, and self dot name would be here name. So this is our checkpoint. So checkpoint can be used in order to just track our player. So after that, next thing what we're gonna do is we'll just create our Mario player. So just go to this data folder directory, and after that just go to this component directory and create new, and our mario.py. So this will contain our code in order to initialize the Mario, and also get the functions like walking function, jumping function, and all the thing that Mario can do. So let's create that first. So first thing, in this mario.py we want to import some of the modules. That would be pygam module as in pg, and next thing you can do is just import the setup and tools here. That is from this dot dot means we are referencing to this data now. And after that, let me just import from that. Let me import setup first. It should be not setup, it should be tools. So I'm just referencing tools here. And the next thing what you want to do is we'll just import, that would be constant. So let me import constant as say. And after that, what we're going to do next is we'll say just import some of the power ups too. So before that, the next class that we need to work with the Mario would be setup class. So I thought we have this setup class already defined, but we haven't defined it, so let me just do that first. So in this data, just go to here and just create a setup.py, and just go to the setup.py and import first is OS. So what this setup.py Python is for is basically it will just set up a screen, and it will also work with our resources. Basically you can also deal with these resources: font, graphics, music, and sound. So first thing what you're gonna have is pygame module, and import it as pg, and from dot means you are referencing basically to this data, and I'll say let me just import tools. And the next thing what you can do after this is we'll also import constant, because we'll need the constant. So from dot referencing to this data here, and let me import constant as c. So after that we'll just say original caption. Here the original caption is basically the caption for our game, and that should be assigned as c, that is from the constant, and original caption. So after that let me just define an environment that would be from this invar and yun method. So you have to just pass here as a key, and that would be sdl video centered. It is important, sdl video centered. So this should be 1, because we want this caption or environment to be aligned basically to the center. So now just initialize this pygame module, and after that we just want to just allow the key to work in this pygame, that is from this event, and set allowed, and just give the type as in pg here. So let me just give it in a list. So that would be pg dot first would be key down, and next inside this list would be key up, and next will be pg dot quit. So after this we have just allowed these events to work with this pygame. The next thing what you can do is just display and set the caption. So set the caption as in we have already maybe the c dot original caption. So that should be not inside this tuple, it should be only here inside this parenthesis. So after that the next thing what you're gonna do is we'll just create this screen variable, which will be initialized as in pg dot display and set mode here. So in this set mode we'll say c dot screen size. So this is basically the screen size for our game, so it should be c, small c dot screen, and let me just see here screen size. So after that we'll say I'll just create a screen rectangle here. So from this rect, let me say screen first. So from that screen get the rectangle. So after this we're gonna initialize, or we're gonna just have this loaded all of our resources, and that can be font. We just want this font to load, and we just want gfx to be also loaded. How to load this is basically you can also load this music, you can also load the sfx, but we'll just load this font and then gfx now. So tools dot we can load from load all gfx, because we have this load all gfx function maintained in our tools.py. If you see down here there is our load all gfx function, so we are creating that in this setup.py, and just will pass the path here. That would be os.path and join and give the path. So that path should be first resources, so that should be resources, and the next would be font, because we want these fonts. And here, so after this font, let me just give here and cut it out here and just paste it out here. So after that we also have to load this gfx. So from this same function, that is load all gfx, and here we want to pass the resources as graphics, so that would be same as os.path that we did before, and we'll say join here, and join should be resources should be joined, and give the basically the folder here that should be graphics. So inside this graphics, just join that, and you have loaded your jfx and front. So we'll make use of this jfx in our mario.py, so that could be done in the next lecture. So see you there.